Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, let us learn about managing our workflows with a step function service. So how can we able to manage our workflows with a step function service in real time? So for that, I want to provide you a real time scenario. Let's say I have a website where in that website, I will host some content in it. Based on the content, my audience will provide their reactions in the form of emojis or in the form of text. Now, before publishing that content, I need to take a right that content is if that feedback is good, then only obviously I'll publish in my website, right? Otherwise, I won't publish it, right? Yeah. So if it's not a good content, if it's violating the rules, then I don't want to publish it. So like that, I want to implement a feature in my website. How to do this? So in order to do that, what are the things that I need to do? I need to check whether the posted image is good or not, right? Yeah. I need to do sentimental analysis on my image, whether it's a positive image, negative image, or neutral image. I need to find the sentiment of it, right? Yeah. So how do I identify that sentiment of my image that obviously my users post on my website? That I can able to do it by using a service that is. Now, to analyze my image contains safe content or not, we have a AWS service that is Amazon Recognition, where by using this service you can able to analyze your images. And in order to analyze the metadata or comments that they provide under the image, I have I can perform this sentimental analysis by using this Amazon Comprehend service. Right? Yeah. Now, first, in order to perform these two things, first we need to save our content which we get from our website, right? Yeah. So by using what service we can able to store our data, sir? So for that we are using now S3 bucket. Okay, for storing I am using S3. So in this S3 bucket, I'll store my content, whether it may be image or it may be text. Now, I want to analyze that by using these two services, right? Yeah. So for that, in order to process that compute, that analyzing, we need some compute service, right? Yeah. So for that, we are using Lambda to process that, right? Yeah. To process that, we are using Lambda, where this Lambda will process and identify whether the image is containing safe content or not. And this Lambda function will interact with this comprehend and get the details regarding whether the message which that image contains is sensitive sensitively positive message or not. So those two things it will identify, we will identify by using this Lambda functions, right? Yeah. Now let's have one more question, that is, so whenever if we put our content into this, we need to immediately perform these two operations, right? We need to process this Lambda function as well as this Lambda function, right? So to start these two Lambda functions, I again need one more Lambda function, right? Yeah. So in order to start any other process, we need one more Lambda function to start the process. Now, since I have multiple workloads right here, yeah. So here I have two workflows. So currently two, but based on our requirement, we will increase that now as well. That is based on the response I got, based on the safe content response and sentimental analysis. What I do, I'll further implement my workflow, right? Yeah. So if the safe content is true and my sentimental analysis is positive, then only I'll need to publish that message to my website, right? Yeah. So if the safe content is true and sentimental analysis is positive, then I'll put that image into this SQS queue, and then I'll publish that message to this DynamoDB. So based on the messages that are saved in this queue, those I'll publish into my website directly in further, right? By implementing one more workflow here in between, I'll simply publish the content which is present in my SQS queue to my website, right? Yeah. So let's say if any one of the rule is false, that is my safe content is false, or you can say the sentimental analysis is not positive, that is the sentimental analysis may be neutral, negative. In that case, what I will do, I'll simply put the data into my DynamoDB for further verification by me. So if that content is good, I feel, then I'll accept that post to save in my website, right? Yeah. So this is what the architecture that I want to implement. So this is one workflow and this is one workflow. These two workflows will happen parallelly, right? Yeah. So this processing happen parallelly and this processing also happen parallelly. Then after these two processings happen, based on the result, either I may put my data into this, and then after I put into this, or else directly I'll put my data into this, right? Yeah. So to manage these workflows, we have a service in AWS that is a step function. By using a step function workflow, we can able to manage all these process. That is, first processing these two parallelly. That is, we need to process this, as well as we also need to process this parallelly, right? Yeah. So we can do those two things parallelly at first. So whenever this step function state machine, we use a state machine in order to manage this workflow. We call the management item in step function is state machine. In step function, we create a state machine. So whenever we start that state machine, then it start running these two workflows parallelly. This is one workflow and this is one workflow. This workflow will generate safe content or not, and this workflow will generate sentimental analysis. Then those two will be collected as a result, and based on the result, if the safe content is true and sentimental analysis are also positive, in that case, what happens is the data is sent to SQS service at first. So then after it will be sent to this DynamoDB. Let's say if the safe content is false, or you can say the sentimental analysis is not positive. In that scenario, the result is directly saved into this DynamoDB. That means our message is not stored in our SQS code. That means the messages stored in this queue are safe, whereas directly saved in this DynamoDB are unsafe, right? Yeah. So in this way, we can able to manage this whole workflow. So in order to start this step function state machine, we need to trigger this step function state machine from where? From our lambda function code. You can see whenever an image or whenever some data we put into this S3, this will generate an event trigger to this lambda function. Then this lambda function will immediately trigger to this step function state machine. Then that state machine will run these two workflows parallelly and generate the result. Based on the result, either it may put the content in this SQS queue, or else directly it will put the content into this DynamoDB. So if it put the content into this SQS queue, that content is a safe content, and sentiment for that content is positive. So that is directly we're gonna use for further to post in our website. Otherwise, we'll just put that content into this DynamoDB for further verification to post that content into our website, right? Yeah. So in this video, what we will do is, don't worry, I'll show you this whole thing implementation. So for that, let's create an S3 bucket from AWS Management Console. Now you can see I've already logged into my AWS Management Console and I'm opening S3 buckets. There I'll create an S3 bucket. Then after I'll configure an event trigger for it. Now I'm just clicking on create bucket in S3. There I'm providing my bucket details, like bucket name I'm providing bucket 1 hyphen bucket B. So like that I provided my bucket name. I'm just copying this. Now I want to enable ACL. Object writer will be allowed to do that action, and yeah, that's it. I'm just moving on with the default configuration, and now simply I'm creating my bucket. Now you can see our bucket, that is bucket 1B, got created successfully, right? Yeah. So now what are the next thing? What is the next thing? I need lambda functions, right? Yeah. So how many lambda functions I need? I need 1, 2, 3. Three lambda functions I need. So one lambda function is to trigger this step function that I am going to create, and two lambda functions, one for analyzing my safe content or not, and one for generating sentimental analysis, right? So these three lambda functions I have already created. I want to show you those. So for that, I'm opening lambda function. You can say I'm opening my lambda functions. For this lab, I've already configured those code regarding lambda functions, but I haven't created the step function. In this lab, we mainly focus on creating this step function to manage our workflows. That is, I already have this lambda function and this DynamoDB also I have, but SQSQ I haven't created. I'll show you to create how to create it as well, and I will show you the end to end, that is step function creation and management in this lab. So I've already created this lambda function, this and this lambda function. So this lambda function I want to show, that is this. What is that? That is process S3 event. You can see this is the lambda function that I have created for that. And other two lambda functions are for recognition helper is a lambda function that I created to recognize the image related content, and comprehend helper, this is the lambda function that I created in order to interact with the comprehend service in AWS. Now I want to show you the content which is present in this process underscore S3 event lambda function. So basically why I am using this lambda function in order to trigger this step function, right? Step function state machine, right? Yeah. So whenever an object we put into this S3 bucket, then this lambda function need to trigger this step function state machine. So for that I have written the code. Now you can see, so whenever here we attach the trigger of S3. So whenever, so let's attach it, then we'll continue with the process of explanation. I'm opening my S3 bucket and I'll open whatever the bucket just now I created. That is a bucket 1B. This is the bucket that I've created. Under properties, you have an option to trigger lambda function. You can see event notification option is there. So whenever I put some object into this S3, I need to generate an event notification to this processing S3 lambda function. That is this process S3 event lambda function. So I'm creating an event in my S3 bucket, that is bucket 1 bucket B. Here you can see under this, that is event notification, I am creating an event notification. Here I'm providing the event notification as S3 event, and I'm moving on with the event type, that is all object create events. I am providing this as the event type. Whenever a object creation happens in this S3 bucket, then what happens? It will trigger. So in order to trigger, I want to provide the destination, right? So you can see under destination, I am choosing lambda and choosing a lambda function from available lambda functions. So that lambda function is this, that is a process S3 event. So whenever a upload event or, so what is the event, object creation event happened in my S3 bucket, that will trigger this lambda function, that is process S3 event. Now I'm saving the changes so that this trigger got created even in lambda function as well as here in the event notification of my S3 bucket, that is bucket 1 B, bucket 1 bucket B. I want to show you the lambda function as well. Now I'm just reloading this page so that whatever the updated trigger that is available here. You can see that S3 bucket trigger that I have uploaded, that is available here. So whenever we upload an object to this S3, this will trigger this lambda function. So whenever this lambda function is triggered, then obviously what I need to do, I need to start my step function, right? Yeah. So currently I haven't, I'll create that step function and I'll provide that URL to this lambda function later in this lab only. So first I want to show you the code which is present in it. You can see I just imported a Boto 3 and required libraries. You focus on this Boto 3. So by using this only we connected to our S3 and step functions as well, right? We connected as a client to S3 and step function and we assigned a variables to it. Then after what I'm doing, so whenever an event is triggered, that is whenever an object is uploaded into my S3 bucket, an event is triggered to this lambda function. From that event, I'm picking each and every record. And from that record also, I'm picking my bucket name, key, and object. Then after picking all these, I am finding my metadata of my S3 bucket. So what is the metadata? Metadata is nothing but the user provided content under my image, right? Yeah. So that is this metadata. What is this object? This object is nothing but an image, right? Yeah. So I'm finding my image as well as this metadata. Then after what I'm doing, I'm passing these two as parameters to what? To my step function and I'm starting my step function. You can see I'm starting the step function. This is step, I'm start execution of this step. What is this step? The step is nothing but the client of my step function, right? Yeah. So in this I provided the state machine ARN. This ARN I'll provide after creating my step function. Don't worry, I'll create that in this lab only. Then after I'm providing the input as input step. In this input step, I provided two details. One is S3 info, that is a bucket name I provided and key I provided, as well as the second one, that is a message. In the message, I provided the content as response metadata, right? Yeah. So those two things I provided, that is a bucket name and key I provided. By using these two, we can able to get the object, that is image which is present in my bucket, and this is the direct metadata. You can say the message which is present under your photo or file. So that those two are I'm passing to what, to this step function, and I'm starting this step function. That's it. We started our step function and we provided those two details. So wait a minute. After explaining this workflow I'm gonna show you how to create this step function workflow as well. So first I want to tell you this lambda function and this lambda function, that is a recognition helper and comprehend helper, what they do. So for that I'm opening my lambda function again. Here I want to show you those two lambda functions, that is this comprehend helper as well as this recognition helper step functions work I want to show you as well. Now you can see comprehend helper. So what actually I do by using this lambda function, I need to, by using this comprehend helper, what I need to do, I need to generate the sentimental analysis, right? Yeah. So for that, what I did, you can see what is the code I written, that you can see. You can see I found out the sentiment by just connecting to this comprehend service by using Boto 3 library. I am providing inputs, that is a text that I am getting from the content, and asking the sentiment by using which method, detect the sentiment of this content. So what are the content that I provided? For that I am detecting the sentiment by using this detect sentiment function by using a what service, that is comprehend service. And finally I am finding the sentiment, I am returning the sentiment as a response from here, right? So from where? From comprehend helper function. Okay, let's see the recognition helper function, whether it can able to analyze the image related safe content or not. You can see here also we are connected to this recognition service by using Boto 3, and as a client we connected to recognition service. Then we detected the moderation labels of our object, what, of our S3 object. How do we provided that S3 object? By using a bucket name and bucket key. By providing those two, I'm finding this S3 object, and that S3 object image related moderation labels we are detecting by using a detect moderation labels function, and we are storing that in response. So then after we are just checking if moderation labels are there or not. You can see if moderation labels are there in response, if moderation labels are there in response, then we are storing the response related moderation labels in this moderation labels variable. Then after we are checking if that moderation variable labels are there, then if this moderation labels are not there, since these moderation labels are nothing but unsafe content, that is not good content, then we specified that this is a safe content. Since there is no moderation labels, this content is safe, this image is safe, so that's why we're providing this as a return value. Let's say if our image contains some moderation labels, then we are providing the response as this is not a safe content by using this JSON, right? Yeah. So this is what this recognition helper is doing. So this recognition helper is providing the output regarding safe content or not, whereas our comprehend helper will provide the response related to sentiment of our message, right? Yeah. So now we got those two from here, and then we need to compare that, right? Yeah. So for that let's create a step function to manage that these two lambda functions work parallelly, and we will take the result from both and we'll compare that with this SQS. We'll compare that and we'll do further process with it by using this step function service. So for that I'm opening my AWS step function. You can see I'm opening step function in another new tab. Here I am expecting to create a state machine. By using a state machines you can able to manage your workflows. So I just opened my state machines. Now I'm creating this state machine. Now I'm moving on with the blank page and clicking on select, right? I'm selecting this. Now I have already some code for it. I will paste that code here. Don't worry, I'll show you and explain you what happens in each and every step. Now I'm pasting the code. You can see whenever I pasted the code, you can see that code related output is even visible in this design, right? Yeah. So what I'm expecting, so whenever this state machine got started, I want to rename this state machine as state machine 1. State machine 1, like that I renamed. Now you can see here, that is from, yeah. So from your workflow, so whatever the code that I pasted, that related workflow is created. So you can even design it from the design. Simply, you can see whenever this state machine started, two parallel states will happen. That option I got from here. You can see from here, I just picked and placed there. Then after this, I need to do sentimental. That is, I need to do image evaluation as well as the message content evaluation, right? That is, I need to do sentimental analysis, and I need to check with the content related safety, right? Yeah. So to do that, I have generated already some lambda functions. So I'm opening the code. Here I'm selecting this. Here I'm replacing this with a lambda ARN related to that particular lambda function. So what is that lambda function? We use a recognition helper, right, for this. Yeah. So now I'm opening that recognition helper. You can see this is the recognition helper. Now I'm just copying the ARN for it, and now I'm just pasting the same ARN inside my step function here, the resource related ARN. Then after here, in order to evaluate my message, I'm selecting this and I'm replacing this with comprehend lambda function ARN, since by using this comprehend lambda function only I'm processing that, right? Yeah. So that's why I'm replacing this with this comprehend ARN. Now, so whenever our process got started, it will find out the result regarding a sentiment, and one will find out the result regarding sentiment, and one will find out the result regarding status, my content related status. So then after, based on those two, it will choose whether I want to moderate or not moderate, whether the content is moderate content or not moderate content. Let's say my content is moderate content. Then what I need to do? I need to, so here you can see I have written the condition, those are visible here. So what are these conditions? If moderate or not moderate choice is any one of these, then it will go to this as the next step. That is, it will go to here, then it will store into this DynamoDB. So here, what are the conditions that I provided? So if the analysis of my image is false, if my analysis of my image regarding the safe content, if the safe content is false, then I'm just moving the data into DynamoDB. If my sentimental analysis is negative, then I'm moving my data into DynamoDB. If my sentimental analysis is neutral or mixed, also I'm moving my data into DynamoDB directly. When I'm moving my data to queue, only when safe content is true and my sentiment is positive, that is the other case of these, right? Yeah. So that becomes the default case now, right? So whenever it reaches to the default case, where it will move? It will move to here, right? Yeah. So it will move to this show content, that is here, that is here it will move. Then, so whenever it reaches to here, then I'm just passing it, and here I'm sending it to queue. So in order to send my message to queue, first I need to provide a queue, right? Yeah, I need to create a queue and I need to provide that queue here. For this, I'm opening my SQL service and there I want to create a queue. You can see I'm opening my SQL service. Here I want to create a queue for this need. So I'm just clicking on create a queue. So currently you can see there are no queues are there. I want a standard queue with queue name as Q1. So that's it. I'm just creating this queue by providing some name. And I'm copying this queue related. So no needed actually. I'm moving back to my step function. Here what I want to do, I need to add a queue here, right? So for that, I'm moving on with the design. So there I want to add my SQS queue, right? So that's why I searched for it. So to this SQS queue, what I want to do, I want to send message, right? So I'm selecting this SQS queue send message, and I'm putting that here. You can see, yeah. Now I'm clicking on it to edit this. So in this inspector, I'm providing the queue under the queue URL. I'm providing the queue as Q1. So whatever the queue that I've created, that I'm selected. Now I'm just clicking on, yeah, that's it. My queue I have selected. So whenever the message was sent to this, then that is whenever our message or whenever our image related two things, what are they? If my content is safe and the sentiment is positive, then it will reach us to here. Then after we'll store the data into this queue, then we will send that data into this DynamoDB, right? Yeah. Now, yeah, we fulfilled whatever the state machine that we require, that we just now created successfully. You can see this is what the state machine we just now created. So whenever the state machine started, it will run parallelly these two lambda functions and generate the result. So based on that result, either it may send the data to SQS queue or it may send the data directly to this DynamoDB. So if it sends the data to this SQS queue, that means that image and the content related to that are safe content, and sentiment of that image or content is also good. So we can even publish this message directly to our website. Now I'm just clicking on create. So before clicking on create, we need to provide the configurations of it. Now you need to provide the role in order to execute these. And if you want any logging, then allow the logging. Currently I'm allowing all logging. That's it. Now I'm just clicking on create, so that this step function will create now. Now you can see our step function got created successfully, right? Yeah. So our step function got created successfully. Now I'm copying this step function related ARN, right? Yeah, this is the state machine related ARN. I copied the state machine related ARN. Now I want to provide this where I want to provide this to this processing. What this processing S3 event lambda function. So in order to process, I need to use this, right? Yeah. So here I'm providing that. Where is my, yeah, you can see here I am providing my step function ARN, right? This is the step function ARN. Now I'm deploying, or you can say saving the changes. The changes got updated successfully. Now I'm going to one of the IDE, that is a Cloud9, in order to upload some content into my S3 bucket. That is, we have already created our S3 bucket and we triggered a lambda function. Then this lambda function will even start this step function whenever we upload some object into it. Then it will process these two parallelly and generate the result. Based on the result, either it may put into this or else it may put into this. So in order to verify that, I'm opening my Cloud9 IDE. You can see this is the Cloud9 IDE I've already created for this lab. Now you can see I have two, that is two files. One is a guitar file and one is a drum file. Where this guitar file, you can see this guitar file contains a sad face person, and this drum file contains a very happy person, right? Yeah. Now I've already written commands to even place my data into S3 bucket as well. Now I'm executing those two commands. So here we need to replace this with our S3 bucket name. So what is our S3 bucket name? This is right. Yeah, I just copied this. And now I'm replacing here with my original S3 bucket name here as well. Now I'm copying this, that is this command to upload this guitar PNG to my S3 bucket. You can see that guitar PNG is a sad face. Now I'm uploading that here by using this command. I'm uploading. So actually where this is present, this is present in my lab folder, right? So first we need to move to that lab folder. Sorry, change directory to lab. Now I'm writing the command to upload this file, to upload this guitar file to where? To this bucket, to this S3 bucket. So I'm just providing the file name, that is a guitar file name. Since we are in a lab folder, I'm just uploading from there, or if you want to upload from back folder, you can move a bit back, and from here also you can upload. That is directly from within the lab folder. I have this guitar PNG. I'm just copying this file from this here to this S3 bucket. So whenever I upload this photo with this message, I hate this song. So then what happens? What happens is it simply triggers to my lambda function. Now I'm just clicking on enter. You can see our data got uploaded successfully, right? Yeah, you can verify that in your S3 bucket. Under objects, I'm just reloading it. You can see one guitar.png got created. Now I'm opening this processing bucket, whether it got triggered or not. So in order to see that, you can open the monitoring. This monitoring will take you some time. In order to show you the monitoring, you can see the immediate update in the CloudWatch logs. I'm opening this CloudWatch logs to show you the updated. You can see under the dashboards, immediate reaction won't be visible. It might take a few minutes to show you the output, but in CloudWatch logs, you can able to see the log related to that. You can see the record related and the object related details are visible here, right? Yeah. And even it triggered the step function, right? That step function related details also you can see here. And that bucket related details, object related. So whatever the details that it provide to the step function, those are also visible here. That means it started the step function related state machine URL that I provided. Now let's open the state machine. You can see this is the state machine, right? So currently there are no executions showing. I'm just reloading it. Since whenever I uploaded my content into my S3 bucket, it triggers to my lambda function that triggers the state machine, right? Yeah, you can see that trigger execution is available here. Now I'm opening it to see the status of it, how it is worked. Now you can see first these two executed parallelly, and so let us see the output which is generated from this evaluate image content. You can see the content is true content only, that is safe content only, that image is. Whereas message, let us see, you can see that message is a negative. Since that message is a negative, the data is not published to my SQS queue. It was directly sent to my DynamoDB. You can even see that related data in my DynamoDB table that I already created for you for this lab. I'm opening the DynamoDB to show you the result related to the current file. I'm opening the tables. So here you can see comments table is there. I'm exploring the table items. So one item is there. You can see the bucket name is there and the comment. What are the comment that is present, that is available, and the key, that is a guitar.png. Safe content or not, sentiment, both are there, right? Yeah. So in this way, we can able to create our own state machine in our step function, and we can able to identify, or we can able to manage our step function as well. We can even provide one more image, that is a good image, and let's verify that. That is a drum image. Let us provide and see that. Yeah, this is a drum image, right? Yeah. So let's provide this and see the output as well. Now I'm just pasting this and clicking on enter. Now you can see that drum image also upload to my S3 bucket. That is this. Let's move back to our step function. Obviously this step function is invoked. So whenever I put my content into this, then it will trigger this lambda function, that is process event, that is this. So whenever it got triggered, it even trigger to the related state machine, that is you can see under the logs, that related state machine is also triggered. That related log is also available here. Now this state machine is again triggered. You can open your state machine. Under your state machine you can see execution. So one more execution is there, that is failed, I don't know why. So let's rectify it as well. You can even see the cause of failure, an error while executing a state into DynamoDB. So the path is mismatched. Here actually up till here it is executed, but here it is not executed. So let's change the path from here to the end so that it might execute. So in order to edit that, I'm going for my state machine and I want to edit it, right? So that's why I'm clicking on edit. Now I want to change this. I want to change this flow to next to where? Next to end. I want to go to end after this. You can see after this I'm going to end, right? Yeah. Now I'm just saving this before execution. Now let's re-upload it and rerun this so that we might not get any errors. So whenever my image does not have any negative content, so in that case, what I will do, I obviously directly put that message into, or I obviously post that message, right? I don't need to re-rectify it, right? Yeah. So I use SQSQ to post that message directly into my website. Whether if my content is not good, or let's say if the post or comment that I got was not good, then I'll put that in DynamoDB and re-verify that later. So now I have already uploaded one more file. Again I uploaded the same file. Here you can reload this object. Since the same object I uploaded, it will be overlapped, so don't worry, even that will be executed here under your step functions. Now I'm just exiting to this state machine. Here you can see, so whatever the state machine that was executed successfully, you can see like this it was executed. You can open and see the evaluation result of your safe content or not regarding your image analysis. Regarding your message analysis, you can even see the details, that is a message analysis detail, that is a sentiment is positive or not. Yeah. So then after it will reach to the end and it will be succeeded and stopped, right? Yeah. This is how you can able to create and manage your workloads in real time. This is how you can able to create your workloads and manage your workloads in real time. So if this is true, then obviously in the next step we'll put that content into this with another workflow, or else we'll further process it and we'll put that content, or we post simply that content into our website, right? Yeah. So whenever that content is not good, then we put that into our DynamoDB and we will verify that content is good or not. And we'll further post it or we'll delete that content, that is nothing but comment. So in this way, in real time, you can able to manage your workflows with step function state machines. I hope this video is useful to you and you understood hands-on lab regarding state function implementation by using state machines to manage your AWS workflows. Even you can consider these as serverless workflows, serverless services related workflows. You have managed almost possible workflows here. I hope this video is useful to you and you got some hands-on knowledge regarding how to implement your step function state machine to manage your workflows in real time. Thanks for watching. See you back in the next video. Until then, bye bye guys.